Jona Bryndis. I'm a professional energy therapist, energy coach, and energy healer. And today I want to talk about astrology, zodiacs, higher and lower expression, whether horoscopes work or not, and what the connection is with energy work. When it comes to talking about spirituality and talking about a little woo-woo stuff, a lot of people immediately associate this with astrology. And I wanted to address this here today with you because so many of you, especially if you're younger actually, which is the interesting thing because, I'm 53. So when I grew up, astrology was sort of still out there and then it became mainstream. And I thought it was like, yeah, people aren't really going for it anymore because I used to be the only person, the astrologer, that you could talk to in regards to, say, non-denominational spiritual issues. But I've noticed over the years that there is a strong revival. And why is that? Why do people feel attracted to astrology? I think it's simple. It's something that doesn't have anything to do with religion, so that aspect is still the same. And it's something that allows us to discover ourselves. We all have this question whether or not we're supposed to do certain things, what our destiny is, who we are, and so forth. And I think it's a natural thing to go with what's most accepted socially, and astrology is one of those things. All right, so what is astrology? So astrology looks, of course, at some of these patterns. It's a science, I want to call this, that is over thousands of years old. I think 8,000 years. I'm not an astrologer, guys, so please forgive me here if you guys are experts and I'm sort of mixing up things. I'm not looking at astrology as a tool for my energy readings, but I do sometimes compare it with what these astrological readings, the planetary constellations, what they're supporting and what they're not supporting. All right, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. I hope you guys have a lot of questions here because that's the part that has never really been discussed publicly. And I've done a lot of research in the last 10 years, just so you know, creating correlations between astrological, astronomical constellations and energetic waves that we as energetically sensitives, that we have as empaths, as spiritually awakening people, that we perceive. And I can see patterns there as well. So I would love to hear your guys' observations and your comments. Please share and please ask here. This is a live Q&A. And most of what I'm going to present here is just to warm you guys up, all right? I really want you guys to join into the conversation. All right, so astrology looks at the planetary constellations and the patterns that it shows in the human psyche. So it's a bit woo-woo, but it's not, because those astronomical constellations, they're real, all right? They're measurable. Yeah, there's a whole science around this. So that part is the fact part. The interpretation, of course, is up to the astrologer. And astrologer work with symbols. They work with certain degrees of constellations, and it's basically statistics over thousands of years. All right, and to my personal opinion, a personal observation, they actually work pretty well as far as the collective is concerned. As far as the individual is concerned, we have to take this with a grain of salt. There are very, very complex aspects in every person's lives that lead to, how things unfold. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit. But I want to also clarify real quick that what kind of astrology you work with, say, if you feel more drawn to Vedic astrology or the Western sidereal astrology, in my view, is irrelevant. All right, there's a mathematical difference between the two of them, but they're looking at the same astronomical constellations and the same observations One is more the Eastern perspective that has been developed in Persia and India, and one is the more Western perspective, like that has more been observed in Middle Europe at the time. So it's newer to that degree, but both seem to be pretty similar if you know what the mathematical difference is. So let's not get into this sort of tribal fight about what is better, sidereal or Vedic astrology. We're talking about the same thing here. I see you, Sandy, Jackie, I see you, Pam, Cindy, Nadia, Muriel, I see you guys, all right? So be with me here, ask questions, all right? So let's look at why we feel attracted to astrology. Okay, so one of the things that I've already mentioned is that we're seeking, we're seeking for destiny, we're seeking for answers, we're seeking for guidelines or guiding, that can tell us what to do. So for many of us, it's decision making, and this has been a tradition for many, many thousand years. Okay, most of the monarchs throughout the Western civilization, even the Romans and the Greeks had astrologers to let them know if, for instance, the invading of a country, a battle or a certain decision, if that would be successful or not. Obviously, they also had oracles, they also had prophets. But later in the medieval times, and then even latest, around Nostradamus' time, astrologers and prophets, they became sort of one, and they were also the alchemists of the time. They were also the ones that felt or had a little more freedom to philosophize and maybe to say things that were not in line with what the churches at the time allowed or what they accepted. And so we're looking at astrology as a traditional tool, say, to look into personal transformation processes, personal evolution, personal maturing. And there are some things that most of you obviously, I'm assuming, already know, that based on the day that you were born, the constellation on the horizon at the time that you were born, that this determines your zodiac. Zodiac could be anything from Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, or Pisces. All right, so 12 zodiacs in the sidereal or in the classical astrology that kind of put us into a category. So our ego likes categories. All right, it's a label, and it's something that we can identify with. So the first thing somebody examines, obviously, is what is my zodiac. And I've seen this a lot, especially with younger people, that all these predictions about which zodiacs, which signs go well with another, that this is often sort of, part of a person's profile even, all right, to make sure that other people understand, so, where they're coming from on that slightly deeper level. It's of course more complex, but for someone who believes in astrology, this is a good way to pre-select somebody, all right, of course, with the stereotypical problems that always occur when we generalize things. So a slightly deeper way of looking at your zodiac is to look at the rising sign on the horizon at the time that you were born. And not everybody knows their time of birth, but some of it can be sort of reconstructed, can be reverse engineered. If you're working with a trained astrologer, they can help you with this. And that actually shows you sort of the aspect in your life, in this spiritual context here, or consciousness development context, we would call this, your karmic aspect, okay? It shows you the aspects that have to be healed first for you to go into your highest potential. So your highest potential is your zodiac in its full and mature expression. But in order to get there, you have to go through several stages, all right? Developmental stages, very similar to the psychological developmental stages. So those are things that help you to see that even if, like, say, you are Aquarius, but everything that you read doesn't seem to fit. This can be because you are still working on your rising sign. So that's why the rising sign or the ascendant is often a very good indication of what is currently coming to expression in your life. And don't get me wrong here, this is not about good or bad, but this has to do with the energetic view, okay? If I talk about the higher and the lower expression, the duality that we all carry in us due to our physical, emotional, and mental propensities and our ego that is in charge of dealing with all of this, being this sort of soul having a 3D experience, right? So our ego is the part in us that deals with our 3D-ness, okay? We can see that the lower expressions that our propensities tend to go into correlate with the rising sign, all right? So the rising sign, as the developmentally sort of more immature, more unhealed aspect of you, all right, shows the lower expressions, often also shows the shadow aspects of your personality. And the higher expression is not necessarily your zodiac per se, but it is the mature, the healed version of your sun sign, of the sign that you were born in. This is kind of like in a very abbreviated way, the connection between a sort of a karmic setup for a person that I don't, as a healer, I don't ask for zodiacs, but I can always reverse engineer it. It's actually very interesting for me, since I don't have astrological training. I'm not preoccupied here, and it's so cool for me to see how this works together. Thank you guys for your lovely hearts, for your lovely comments here. I love it. I've missed you too, Pam. All right, so let's go even deeper. Okay, so there are other aspects, of course, the houses and the general aspects that come in with the planets in your houses at the time that you were born, and that's all. Those are all things that you need to work through with an astrologer. If you go to YouTube, you'll find a lot of really good astrologers that have some great explainer videos there. So I'm not opposed to integrating astrology. The only thing that I want to point out here for you is that with all stereotypes, with all categories, with all labels, just like gender labels or religion or tribal or social heritage, all right, you go into preoccupations in your mind, and there is the danger of externalizing your inner guidance to these labels, okay? Because if you identify with your zodiac and you don't really see this, and that's my criticism also with astrologers sometimes, not all of them, but many identify so much with astrology, and it has to be that way, that they fail to look at the individual, the personal expression, and what this person actually needs to heal and how to heal it. But an astrologer can help you to create somewhat of an initial roadmap, to create something like a template for you, for your developmental sort of journey here as a soul self. So I think it's a good idea. Most of these natal charts, as they're called, where you have this all calculated by a computer, they're free. You can get them online here, and if you can read this, or if you study this a little bit, it's not so hard. The deeper stuff though needs to be interpreted by an astrologer, and especially the horoscope stuff. So what is horoscope? horoscope now is the translation of these daily or monthly or yearly aspects that our whole entire collective goes through into your personal life. And this is something that when I talk about collective energies, for instance, I cannot cover. I cannot cover all the 12 different expressions, but I can make out sort of general propensities, and I can make out connections between, for instance, when I call certain chakras being extremely active at a certain time, I can see the connection with some of the planetary aspects that are going through the collective. I can see the connection with some of the planetary aspects that are going through the collective in regards to how they affect people's chakras and which of the zodiacs would be most affected by this positively or negatively. So it is important that you understand that horoscopes that are written for the day, even if they're broken down into 12 different horoscopes, that they are very, very superficial, and that they really can't capture the complexity of your psyche, of your ego, of your inner child, of your shadow, of your zodiac, of your rising, all this. There's so many different aspects. Also, the density level, the layer of your life, of your sort of existence, which they affect, which is why I rather look at the physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and energetic aspects in my energy tips, which can be obtained through Patreon, or if you work with me directly. Coming back to the question whether astrology works or not, I would say it's a definitely yes. It can be a great starting point for you to enter into your spiritual self-discovery. It can help to just at least sort of see things through a slightly deeper perspective, rather than just a binary view of, man or woman. Okay, so there's a slightly, larger, at least 12 different categories. All right, but with this previously mentioned grain of salt. All right, because there's much more complex aspects to that. It can, and this is the thing that I like about astrology, it can help you to formulate a spiritual goal setting, okay? If you are, if you're not all believing in all this energy, woo-woo stuff and so forth, it can still, though, give you a little bit of a hint. For instance, what your ego traps could be, what your pitfalls are. And sometimes, if you have a little bit of a relationship experience, can actually explain to you really well why some of the experiences you've had in the past with other people, why they didn't work out and what didn't work out. And that's the part here that I would love to talk to you about is, how this energetic perspective that I offer here through these truth talks, and that teaches us to discern truth, and looking at astrology and looking at our relationships with others, how this correlates. 2020 will be all about working things out together while simultaneously individualizing our own soul. So it's almost like another layer of dualism here for 2020. It's one of the most transformational years that we've seen in 500 years. All right, and we already know what this will lead to. We know that it will lead to the change of the current paradigm. And most of that has to do with the patriarchal structures, the abuse of power and so forth, and we already know that. And there's nothing to be worried about, because this is something that leads to us as a whole entire collective to grow in our consciousness and to to transcend all these gender things and all these my country, my tribe, your tribe, my team, your team thing. Okay, so we're going to have to work this out, but we have to do this now in a more sophisticated way. We have to do this in a way that allows us to maintain our own individuated soul. And that's very, very important here in regards to your relationships, because when you work with others, when you try to work things out with others, not just in love relationships, but also in work relationships, within the family constellation and so forth, you can see a lot of things already sort of on the surface playing out on this sort of astrological sign level. Okay, so even if it's if you feel stupid asking this, but my tip for you is, if you want to explore this a little more, ask the people that you are interacting with every day, ask them for their sign, and if they know what their rising sign is, and read up on this. Okay, I'm not going to give you the characterizations here of all these signs. I'm not an astrologer. There's wonderful explainer videos out there. I love Pam Gregory, for instance. I love Kai Pacha. Those are astrologers that have a really good understanding, and are also sort of energetic intuitives that translate this really well for those of you who like a little more sort of off the mainstream astrology. So yeah, that would be my recommendation for you. But let's look at relationships now. Okay, so what are the kind of relationships here that will be affected this next year for us personally? And that's the only little reading that I want to offer here from an astrological point of view. Okay, just working things out together will bring in different challenges for different signs. All right, and most of you might know this, but the signs are really divided into 4 groups, and these 4 groups are the elemental groups: fire, water, earth, and air. All right, and this links in with some of the energetic aspects too, because if you have a good connection with earth, with fire, with water, with air, you can feel the differences in these people. This can help you sometimes. Some of you see people in colors. That can work too for you. But coming back to these groupings, okay, the air signs, the fire signs, the water signs, and the earth signs, based on that, next year, 2020, based on that, the next year, 2020, is going to have to be very earthy and very airy. Okay, so those are 2 signs that don't really work that well together. All right, and with it comes an aspect of fire and a need of water. If that translation helps you to understand this better. All right, so what it means is that all those signs that are born in Earth, they're gonna actually feel a little more sort of backwind. They feel things are more to their liking. Yeah, maybe also feel a bit more sort of forward movement, but they need inspiration. They need more vision, all right, to bring this into expression. That's been part of the earth signs stagnation problem here in these past couple years. All right, so earth signs are Taurus and Virgo and Capricorn. All right, so for you guys, next year is going to be a good year, can be a very successful year, but in your relationships with others, and this can also affect your business relationships, partnerships, and so forth, you will probably resonate really well with people who bring in new ideas for you. You might be resonating with Aquariuses or with Geminis more than you normally do. Okay, at the same time, you will inspire them because they need what you have. They need this earthiness, they need this ability to tune into what is safe, what is secure, because next year is all going to be about security. these changing power structures really, really challenge our ego, guys. And so many of us will go into a bit of fear, into a bit of, uncertainty. All right. So the earth signs, all right, the Capricorns, Tauruses, and Virgos, they can be good companions for you. But can they be good love partners for you next year? Obviously, every sign can be a good or a bad love match for you, depending on what sign you are at. But many of you, and this is now the energetic perspective, okay, many of you are still working on karmic aspects. They really, really need to come to a resolution with this collective transformation, and that affects your first and your seventh chakra. And for those of you who already know that you have first chakra aspects that need to be healed, being with an earth sign can be very healing for you for some time, because they bring in this groundedness, this earthiness that you need. But they also bring in performance stuff that can stress you out in that regards, and can lead to you feeling not good enough, on top of this like not feeling good enough inadequacy that we all have. So if this is your problem, if you are still working on first chakra aspects, then seek the friendship, seek earth signs, to surround yourself with, to do business with, because they will bring in the component that you are lacking, that you need to heal within yourself. Now, if you are looking for passion, for, sort of falling in love, getting infatuated, probably the fire signs are a good bet for you next year, because they're going to have some good backwind as well. It's a bumpy ride with fire signs, but at least there is going to be some fire that gets ignited in you again, and it can help you to connect with your feelings more, with your second chakra aspects. It can also trigger power struggles in you. That is your third chakra. If that's still unhealed, all right, then this combination with a fire sign, it can sometimes be a bit fighty, a bit battly, okay, it can be a bit too much friction for you, and so this fire burns out quickly. But from an energetic point of view, that's not a bad thing, to reignite your sensuality, to reignite your connection with your emotions, because many of us have been living in our minds for too long, okay? And so this reconnection with this like, yeah, bring it on, but bring me the life force back, the second and third chakra aspects. It can be really beneficial for you to begin to love life again. Now, if you are looking for someone who is really inspirational, who can teach you a lot, who can be a partner for you, that inspires you to grow, that has a modern visionary worldview, then you're probably better off with an air sign next year. Okay, so they're actually having a good year next year, and so for them, you could be the part that they need. Always remember, in relationships, there's a karmic agreement between two people from an energetic point of view, and so you don't need to be afraid of using or misusing this information. It's just something that can help you, maybe to explain to yourself why you resonate with certain people and why you don't resonate with certain people. Do you guys have that? Let me involve you here a little more. Have you guys noticed, based on zodiacs, that there are specific signs that you are not at all working out with, or that you never even come in contact with? Sandy, your constellation is very similar to mine. Very similar to, yes, you should definitely use your, the life force that is coming in right now. Hang on, guys, I have some background noises here. I don't know when you're going to do this move, but this is, you need to go into action right now. You need to, like, these last 2 weeks of this year, wrap up everything that you can wrap up. And this is going to be really beneficial for you, especially at the beginning of the next year when so many people go through a hard time. What are some of the, do you guys all know your zodiacs? Do you guys know your signs? Okay, Pam, your ex is Cancer, and you can say that's definitely not compatible with me. What is your sign? I haven't talked about the water signs yet. Okay, so your current, you're a Sagittarius, yes. So the thing with water signs, if you are looking for really, really deep emotional transformation and also spiritual transformation, water signs will be good for you because they bring in this connection, this natural connection with what's behind the veil. They're often more empathetic, often, not always, more visionary, and have a very intuitive connection with sort of what we would call spirituality, and especially in this next year, water signs, Pisces, Cancers, and Scorpios, they'll be your buddies, when it comes to looking at the larger spiritual context of things, because there's a lot of confusing things that happen next year, and they can be good guides for you, good teachers too. They're sometimes a little difficult living together with because their connection with their emotions, it's not as fiery, but it can feel like up and down for another person. That's just because many of the empathetic water signs are not trained enough yet to know how not to absorb the emotions of other people. So guys, if you're a fire sign, Pisces, Scorpio or Cancer, you absorb a lot from other people, okay? And that's why it's difficult to have relationships with us, because I'm Pisces. I'm Pisces with the Scorpio rising, guys, and Aquarius moon. Yeah, for those of you who know what this means. Yes, so Cancers can be quite tyrannical, Pam, all right? And if there are a lot of unhealed emotional karmic aspects with a Cancer, that can be quite exhausting. And also feel narcissistic to a degree. Let me look at your guys' concepts. Yes, so your current partner is Aquarius, and your Sag. The Aquarius is definitely bring in, as an air sign, they definitely bring in a larger understanding. You probably have better sort of spiritual connection with him, talking about spiritual concepts and so forth. Just watch, that your emotions are not going too mental, that you don't get stuck in your mind there. Yes, Cheryl, you're on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer. Yeah, so those of you who are on the cusp right between two zodiacs, you always have sort of an additional duality in you. And in energy work, when I look at a person's energy that has this cusp energy, I can really feel the schism, this energetic schism. So there's a flip-flopping going on. You just need to know this, and you need to understand that that's part of your ego trap, all right? So the Gemini brings in the airy, the spiritual, the connection, with, sort of the cosmic energies, and the Cancer brings in this unbelievably sort of vulnerability in through your emotions, and there's a danger, as you know, to to sort of tuck away your emotions, okay, because it's too much, it's too intense. Yeah. Yeah, Jeb. Scorpio, my rising is Scorpio. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, for the first 40 years of my life, people could have sworn I was Scorpio as a sun sign because all my unhealed aspects are in Scorpio, and that's a rough one, especially in the past. Today, it's a little easier because it's more coming to an unfolding. Truth is coming to unfolding. Scorpio is a sign that loves truth, that looks behind the veil, and that can see truth behind all this. They're really good in law enforcement and forensic stuff because they have this intuition behind, looking behind the facade of things. And that's a bit of an issue. And the Sagittarius brings an additional aspect here, an exploration aspect, and wanting to make these experiences. So that can explain why you go to sort of the outer extremes a lot of times. Okay, this needs to be healed. All right, the extremes need to be healed. So for you, for instance, an earth sign would be very healing as a partner. Yeah, so what are some, okay, so the zodiacs that you guys posted here, when you didn't say anything else with it, does that mean that that's your zodiac, or is that whom you don't resonate with, the original question that I asked you, whom you have absolutely no contact with? Who of the signs, from what you know, resonate the least with you? From your understanding and from what you know. I'm like all water and fire, guys. I do not resonate very well with air signs. Okay, I've tried many times. The only air sign that I have a really good connection with is Aquarius, is because this is my thinking structure. It's very similar, so I can have wonderful, wonderful exchange with them, intellectual exchange, spiritual exchange. Yes, Sandy, that's a mixed bag. My Venus is in Aries too. I wonder what your birthday is. Pam, Virgos, yes, Virgos are extremely rigid sometimes. They bring in the earthy part, but at the same time also the rigidity. They can be good teachers though. They have really good discipline in things. And if you are someone who tends to procrastinate, then Virgo can really help you to heal that. Ron, Cancers resonate the least with you. Yes, this is a very common observation, that the signs that come right before you or right after you, that those are the ones that you least resonate with. And it's understandable, because for you this is way too big emotions with Cancers. And if you're asking a Cancer, they'll say, Geminis resonate the least with me. Sandy, you might actually resonate with other Sagittariuses really well. So, keep an eye out. Yes, Jeb, it's understandable that you don't resonate with air signs. They're not reliable for you. They're not reliable enough for you. They're not loyal enough for you. Earth signs is the better bet for you. Yes, they don't mix well with your creative hippie style. Well, that depends though, Pam, because the Virgos, they long for this inspiration, because they can get quite stagnant sometimes and over controlling. So they can heal with you. You can bring in, with this creative, artistic hippie style that you have, you can bring a lot of sensuality and a lot of life force, joy for life back into their lives. Yeah, guys, there's a lot to say about the astrology and how it resonates with us. I want to share one thing with you, and you can ask for this to be sent to you as a PDF from me. Please email me, Jona@transcodes.com. This has never been published before. Here I've literally pointed out the connection between the elements, between the zodiacs and the chakras, and also the developmental stages and the questions that need to be answered, that need to be healed. So knowing what your zodiac is, and you can also look at your rising sign if you know it, you will see that there are elements associated with it, and you will also see that there are certain planets and other zodiacs associated with it, okay? This means that you have a resonance there. So every time I report about a certain chakra being affected this week, or this month or so, then this is something that can help you to identify sort of whether this is something that is really important for you. Sorry, Instagram, I keep on getting interrupted by phone calls from marketers, so I don't know what's going on there. There you go. I'm back. Yeah, so if I, for instance, say, okay, we have a strong first chakra aspect. First chakra is the red part here. You see this, the legs, the hips, the pelvis area. There's three different aspects to the first chakra, because it's at the very fundamental root of how we come into this 3D world, okay? Is where do I belong? What do I truly need? And what is my passion, okay? These are things that on different levels need to be addressed for all of us, all right? And so it might be something that you can read out of my energy tips when I report about energies and I talk about first chakra issues. It will primarily link people into these elements, into these aspects, depending on sort of where they're standing there, okay? So if they're, like, say, if you are Aries and I report about first chakra aspects next week or next month or so, then you can, you find yourself here, Aries, you know that this affects you particularly strong, okay? And the question that will come up for you that you need to answer within your own self-discovery, self-healing journey is, what do I truly need? Okay. Now, if I talk about, say, Sagittarius, if I talk about the barrier between third and fourth chakra, which is a collective barrier. This is the barrier between our mind and our heart, between our ego and our true self. All right. And when that comes up, all right, we've had to deal with this here in these last 4 weeks. Okay. It's always about, what do I want it and what am I attracted to? Those are the things that will affect us. If we are Sagittarius, yes, then it will affect us even more. Or if we have aspects of air and fire in our system. So you can use this as a roadmap, guys, for a better understanding what I am reporting about when I send out energy forecasts or energy updates. All right, and this is a service from me to you. This is literally 30 years of research and 10 years of collecting data and statistics for you. Send me an email, Jona@transcodes.com, and I'll send you this chart. Annette, you're a Capricorn in your sun sign and have a Sagittarius rising, if I read this correctly. Okay, so Capricorn means that, the main aspect here in your life that needs to be worked out is security, is stability, is this deserving, earning the fruits of your life, really, working towards something step by step. And the Sagittarius aspect brings in the search for more, the going out and exploring more, and not staying within these confines of Capricorn, which can be very, very confining sometimes if we, go things just step by step, by the rules. If you go by the rules, it will not make you happy. It cannot link you into your higher vibrational abilities. If you go into the other extreme, the exploring too much without the right foundation, as in like security, livelihood, where I belong, and so forth, then that can make you feel severely insecure and bring up severe first chakra issues. Yes, so you already know, because you're a heart warrior, Annette, you already know what your main karmic aspects are. And now look at astrology and how this resonates with it. Okay, so it's all about overcoming this schism in you, all right, and bringing this into more balance. You need both. You simply need both. But the main questions for you to answer are these first, what are those 5 questions? Where do I belong? What do I truly need? What is my passion? What do I want and how do I want it? That's basically your life and a roadmap. Yeah, Cindy, you are a Scorpio with a Leo rising and Moon in Libra. Okay, so the Moon in Libra, Moon is our thought structure. Okay, this is that interprets our emotions. Let's put it this way. Okay, so this explains why somebody goes mental when they experience strong emotions. Okay, this is a propensity here, the astrological propensity, that you will always try to go into your mind first, and the Libra aspect, which is the beauty, which is the joy, which is the balance, the balance of it all, is what needs to, is sort of the way you have to do this. Okay, now your sun sign, which is the Scorpio, means that you are wanting, that you are seeking to look behind the surface, behind the veil, as I called it earlier. You're able to feel truth underneath it. Okay, you're able to feel this in other people. Okay, most Scorpios are actually natural empaths, but then at the same time you have the Leo rising, and Leo is extremely expressive, can be extremely emotional, but can also get a lot of stuff done. So you got a lot of power signs here, okay? But as far as like how you mentally, intellectually process that, you'll always flip-flop back and forth, because Libra seeks balance, but it also has the tendency to be indecisive and to flip back and forth. So you're, just based on your zodiac here, on your horoscope, on the simple data that you gave me, I can predict to you that your life will all be about getting out of your head and moving more into your heart, because the Scorpio, your sun sign, wants to go into higher expression. It wants to go into, sort of really knowing what you came here for, what you truly need, where you belong, and you really want to trust in that. And with the flip-flopping of the mind, you end up in endless loops, and sort of just never get anywhere. And then you have the Leo aspects, the expression and the power that comes with it, that is needed, to set this into motion. Okay, there's a great combination, but schismatic. All right, so this needs to be healed. Yes, I can see you nod. Yep. Melissa, you also Scorpio. Yeah, I'm not surprised that this kind of truth talk attracts Scorpios. And first of all, I have a Scorpio rising. That means my energy resonates with yours. But it's also about truth, and the Scorpios are naturally attracted to truth. And a Leo rising as well. But you have a Taurus Moon. So the Taurus Moon here is good for you, Melissa, because it brings in some of this stability in your thinking. It can be rigidity too. So here I can see where you need to be careful without having any more data about this. All right, so you have 2-3 power signs here to get things moving, but loyalty is one of your biggest issues with others. Okay, you want absolute 100% loyalty from others, and that can be counterproductive to giving others space and to not infringing and not controlling their lives. So that I see here as a part of the challenge for you in regards with yourself, not trying to control yourself too much. All right, so there could be OCD stuff developed with this constellation, but especially in regards to others. This loyalty cannot be forced. This loyalty cannot be empowered. This has to come out of truth. It has to come in love relationships out of true love, Melissa. So I'm pretty sure that you've experienced your share of what I just mentioned in your life already. Yeah, Beata, Sagittarius, okay, exploring, yes, another sign that is attracted by truth, that is attracted by looking more into the spiritual context of things, Sagittarius are the great explorers and have no, fear of going where nobody has gone before. All right, you have a Scorpio moon. That means your way of thinking is very much determined by suspicion and, not trusting other people. And, always sort of expecting the next thing, coming at you here. All right, and then your Leo rising, which is great because that actually empowers the Sagittarius. So it gives you a lot of life force, a lot of action. You can do a lot of action, but you got to be careful not to overreact, especially with your Scorpio moon aspect, because you will always suspect dark forces looming behind everything, and that can, lead to you, doing these erratic things, going from one extreme situation into the next situation. You would probably go well with someone who brings in a little bit more earth. So, a Taurus or a Capricorn would probably do you well, help you to do things step by step, and also be able to harvest, the fruits of your labor in the past. It always seems like you're losing everything. And this is something that, can be resolved with first and second chakra grounding, and energy work, obviously. But on this astrological level, you need a lot of earth. You need more earth. So spending more time in nature can help with this, so that you can connect more within and with your true inner guidance. So this is the part, Sandy, it's like you have the same birthday and birth time that I do. Most of your aspects are the exact same as mine. I don't want to talk more about this here for you personally. I just, wanted you to ask questions and get involved and see sort of how the energetic perspective can add things to astrology, and also how astrology can add something to energy work and energy healing. The more important part that I want to point out here is that when it comes to true inner guidance, when it comes to discerning truth, it's really, really important that you connect with your own inner guidance. And whatever label and whatever category you put yourself in, do not identify with it, because the moment you identify with your zodiac, with your rising, with your houses or whatever, okay, even with your chakras, all right, that's when your mind, your ego mind, is preoccupied. That's when it forms filters. That's when parts of your perception are becoming blocked, and you got to be really, really careful with this. The only way to bypass this ego issue that we all have here in 3D, okay? So as this immortal soul in this mortal 3D body, is to really work with all your different layers of existence. Work with your body, work with your emotions, work with your intellect, work with your spiritual longing, and work with your energy, so that you can bring all this together. Looking at certain aspects of your life through a filter can block other aspects of your life, or can block your whole entire ability to perceive reality. So ultimately, success is defined, and success, in the sense of, fulfilling the soul purpose here, fulfilling the promise to our soul self to come into this highest expression here on this 3D journey, is found in the congruence of all these things. In the congruence, meaning like matching up between our aspects that we bring in here as our propensity, be it our karma, our zodiacs, our family, our relationship partners, and so forth, our traumas, our shadow, and so forth. Those are all propensities, to match them up with the reality that we are perceiving, the circumstances and the experiences that we are making, and contextualizing them as a journey. All this is designed, okay, by yourself, by your true self, to create this soul self journey for you, this template of you coming into higher expression with yourself. So be gentle with yourself, be compassionate with yourself, forgive yourself for your past. You know, the past is past, all right? You cannot change what happened in the past, but you can change your attitude and your energetic attachment towards it, all right? So you need to forgive yourself for not being able to see things. Yeah, you need to forgive yourself for having been blind. You couldn't know what you couldn't know. All right, and the more you grow with the help of your heart, the more you grow into your true self, the more all these things are going to start to make sense for you and become visible. All right, so guys, all right, I love astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but if it helps you guys to connect more with you, go for it. All right. This is an incredible journey. We are in incredible times. You guys are all old souls here incarnated in this time to witness the biggest transformation that has happened in the evolution of the human consciousness. And that is to come out of the ego awareness into our higher vibratory soul self-awareness. This is huge, guys, huge. So you guys are all troopers, you guys are all heart warriors, because that's what it takes. It takes a warrior of the heart to get past all these ego traps, all these outer conditions, all these birthing pains of what this transformation really brings forth. Our responsibility is to tune into our own true self, to communicate with it, to bring our soul self into the highest expression possible. That's what we came here for, and all the experiences and circumstances around us, guys, they are there to facilitate this. I have to end the Instagram live here, guys. I see you next Sunday. Bye-bye. And for those of you here on Facebook and later in the edited video, I have very exciting announcements to make. Starting tonight at midnight, 0 a.m., 19th of December, we are consciously tuning in the solstice energies. And solstice, guys, is an astronomical phenomenon. All right. Every year for the last years, I've done a free community event. And tonight to midnight, we're going to start a 3-day reboot detox light fasting. Okay, so if you want to participate in this, please subscribe to my email list so I can send you the instructions. Here on Facebook, you'll see the instructions posted already. And this is a sort of cheering ourselves on as a group, helping ourselves to get through this fast. And why do we do this? Because this collective transformation from our third into our fourth chakra, overcoming our ego traps, it requires us to learn how to harness our ego. And that's that's why we do these things. That's why we meditate. That's to silence our mind, okay? And we can also silence our body and our emotions through things like fasting or diet. So I'm not suggesting a full-on fast. I'm suggesting a light fast with liquids only, so we don't fall over. We don't have to take off from work. Okay, you can still function, and please read the instructions carefully that I sent to you. But the big event starts right after the solstice, the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, which is the 21st of December, the 22nd if you're in Europe or in Australia. I am offering a free 10-day manifestation block challenge. and that normally costs $199. For those of you who really want to get past their blocks, all right, what I'm asking you to do is to spend 30 minutes a day. You'll get a video from me every day, an instruction video, and there's a 10-minute physical exercise, 10-minute, caring for your body. Then there's a 10-minute educational aspect to it, how to interact with others, how our energy awareness can how we can boost that. And then there is a 10-minute mini meditation every day for you to tune into your soul self, and that requires you to be willing to be present for 10 days, 30 minutes a day, so that you can possibly change your life 180 degrees. So if you wish to apply for this, if you wish to sign in, this community event is done remotely. We're using Skype on your phone for this. So I sent the videos to you in email, but also to the Skype app. And there we share and cheer each other on. And there we have to fulfill a task every day. Yes, it comes with a task, because the whole goal of this 10-day challenge is to go into more accountability with ourselves. All right, so if you would like to do this, I'm posting the link here for you in the commentary, and there's also one in the video that is posted here on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook channel, that explains it in a little more detail. So we're starting with this on the 22nd, guys, until the last day of the year, 31st of December, and I can promise all of you that this is going to change your life. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to post my tasks too. So it's going to be a wonderful experience for all of us. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your love. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting transCODES. If you want to donate, go to my Patreon. You can, donate for the video production and the channel there, and receive the weekly energy tips and some sort of other premium content there, articles and so forth. Yes, happy solstice, everyone. Here, these last weeks of 2019. And I'm going to be back with you here next Sunday. And I'm going to be talking about 220, the truth about 220. Oh, no. All right, guys. See you Sunday.